following show is controversial and contains content you may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. 98 FM's Dublin Talks. Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
It's Thursday morning. Good morning to you. How are you? Hope everything's good with you. I'm Adrian Kennedy, and between now and midday today, this is 98 FM's Dublin Talks, the mid-morning talk and phone-in show for Dublin, by Dublin, and about Dublin. If you want to get in contact with us, if there's something you want us to bring up on the programme, please do. You can send us an email to dublintalks@98fm.com, dublintalks@98fm.com. You can send us a private message to our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Adrian K and Jeremy D. So, what have we got on Thursday's programme? A conversation about a subject that I never ever knew was an issue. Postnatal depression in men. I'll talk to you about that in a second. In about 20 minutes then, we're going to be asking, is it time to ban unvaccinated children from schools and creches and playgroups? The majority of Irish people, in fact 73%, in an online poll on the Journal, said yes, kids should be banned from attending creches and play schools if they are unvaccinated. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit later on. Oh yeah, here's one that I'm sure has led to rows in your house. If you share a bed with somebody, it can be lovely, but my God, it can be a nightmare as well. I'm going to be asking about the worst thing about sharing a bed with your partner. And I'm going to be hearing from a lady called Tracy Lee later on. She's been in touch with us. She's fed up, basically. She goes out for nights out at the weekend, as many people do, and she's just fed up with men and the way in which they leer over her and touch her, and you'll hear her whole story a little bit later on. Some argue that's part of the whole scene when you're out. This lady is really, really annoyed. You can find out why a little bit later on. All that and much more between now and midday today, live from Dublin City Centre. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. I'm Adrian Kennedy. Here's a question for you. As a man, did you get down in the dumps after your child was born? Over the last... it's a conversation I've never even heard discussed anywhere, because a new study released in the United States about the well-being of new dads has said that between 5 and 10% of new dads suffer from postnatal depression. The study shows that the risk goes up to 24 to 50% for men whose partners have suffered from postnatal depression. In the UK, the NHS last year announced that it will offer mental health screening to partners of new mothers who themselves are depressed. However, there's no such screening here in Ireland. And we've spoken many times about postnatal depression and the effect that it has on women who, after their child is born, should be full of the joys of spring, but just can't shake it off. And it's something that is recognised. It is something that women speak openly about. But when it comes to men, this is a conversation I've never ever heard before. Men suffering from postnatal depression. Now, if you are that man, I would love to hear from you on 6797 981, or maybe your man is that man, if you know what I mean. I'd love to hear your stories on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp us on 0877 98 98 98. I'm joined on the line by Pádraig O'Moran, who is an author and psychotherapist. Pádraig has been writing about this very subject in the Irish Times recently. Pádraig, thank you very much indeed for joining us. And let me begin by asking you, what inspired you to write the article in the Irish Times about postnatal depression in men?
I think that what inspired me is that it's something that we don't often think about. You know, we know that postnatal depression is an issue for women, but it often comes as a surprise that it is an issue sometimes for men also. And so for that reason, I just wanted to highlight it, because maybe a man who is experiencing postnatal depression might come across as not being involved or interested in the child, in the baby, but in fact what's going on really could be depression. So I think that's an important thing to know about.
And one of the things I would think is that if a man kind of presents with postnatal depression, it might be seen as selfishness because he's being kind of sidelined because of the baby and so on. Is that a factor?
Well, it is a recognised issue, especially when the first baby comes along, that sometimes the man is sort of pushed to one side. It can be a little bit of a crisis point, actually, in a relationship. But it's not necessarily selfishness to be upset about that. It can also just be for all sorts of other reasons. But yes, I agree with you that it could be misinterpreted that way.
Yes, so many men might keep these feelings to themselves.
Yes, they might, and one of the problems is that quite often the postnatal depression apparently kicks. Say with men, it would often appear after maybe a few months. Whereas it might be earlier with women, but that can. So therefore, the connection isn't that obvious, you know. So it can appear to be something different, and it therefore can be misinterpreted, really, both by the man himself and by whoever he might tell about it, if anybody.
So it is a subject that, in fact, this is my very first time even having a conversation about the subject of postnatal depression in men. Why isn't it talked about more?
I think because it's like we naturally put the focus on the mother. Tends to be the primary caregiver, and if she is suffering from postnatal depression, it tends to be fairly obvious and something that's of concern to everybody. Where I suppose the man is, if he's working, he's going out to work, and he's like it's not as obvious with him, you know. So it's because it's just not as obvious, because people are sort of they're kind of more involved with, more engaged with the mother anyway, following the birth of the child, so they would notice it more quickly. And she herself would, because she's wondering, why am I not feeling the way everybody says I should feel? You know, why am I not over the moon about this? So she herself notices that there's this difference between how she really feels and how people think she should feel.
So how would a man who's perhaps a new father, within a couple of months of the birth of his child, how would he know that the feelings that he's having are in fact postnatal depression?
Well, I suppose that if the feeling is one of, you would have a feeling, let's say, of sort of anxiety about the kind of the challenge of parenthood, I suppose, and contributing now to the support of two people who may not, like the mother, if she's working, won't be going back to work for quite a while, probably. So it's noticing that, but it's a sense of withdrawal, kind of, and of hopelessness. So not feeling that sense of over the moon and of being really involved with the child, a sense of hopelessness, perhaps. Those can be a sign that a person is depressed. And in fact, that sense of hopelessness and non-involvement anyway is kind of a sign of depression. So if that is something that is relatively new to you, and it's happening, say, within, 3 or 4 or 5 months of the baby being born, it may very well be postnatal depression. The other thing can be maybe drinking too much and insomnia, indigestion, stuff like that, because depression is a kind of a physical thing as well as a mental thing.
So how can a partner, a wife or whatever, recognise that what is going on in his world may actually be postnatal depression that he's dealing with?
I think that if the partner notices that the man is not as involved as she hoped he would be, or as she would expect him to be, if he's kind of withdrawn a bit from family life, that would be quite a sort of a sign that there may be postnatal depression at work here. So she's probably the one who's going to observe him best, and so it's that kind of withdrawal from family life, not being as involved as she hoped he would be. And so it's not necessarily it's easy to interpret that as though he doesn't care. It may not be that. It might be actually depression.
What should a man do if he's feeling like he has postnatal depression? Who would he even talk to?
Well, first of all, he needs to talk to his partner about it, because that's the person who's with him every day, or if they're not living together, that's the person who sees an awful lot of him following the birth of the child. Usually, he can talk to his GP. He can go to a counsellor if he wishes to. The GP is probably the first port of call, and they would refer him on if necessary. Quite a lot of workplaces have schemes where a person can get a certain number of counselling sessions for free, and it's completely confidential. So if such a scheme exists, then it would be a good idea to avail of that, maybe. And also, or of just going to a counsellor, just finding out from the GP who they might go to. So there is. These are the things that you would need to do, rather than just try to deal with it all by yourself.
Which would be typical of men. Which would be fairly typical of men to just try and get on with it.
Yeah, it would be really, but it is a time when there's a lot of pressures come down on me, and there's a lot of, as I said, new responsibilities and things like that. So at the very least, first I would say you've got to talk to your partner about it. That's the first thing, and then from that, I think things will take their course from there on, because possibly the partner might suggest talk to the GP or talk to a counsellor. But I think once you've talked to your partner about it, you've started the process. And especially if you point out that you think that it's postnatal depression. Men do, by the way, suffer the kind of hormonal changes as well. But both women and men, for example, after the birth of a child, the level of testosterone falls. And there's other hormonal changes as well. So these things actually affect both in a physical way. Then I suppose that's not necessarily always known.
All right, but if the point being that if you are feeling these feelings that in your head you think it could be postnatal depression, it is important to get it dealt with.
It absolutely is. Tell your partner, tell a friend whom you trust, somebody sensible who'll give you some good advice. But tell somebody. Don't keep it bottled up.
Padraig Moran, thank you very much indeed for talking to us on 98 FM.
You're very welcome.
Now, it's amazing how people react to that conversation. Within minutes, we're getting messages from people saying, really? This isn't a thing. This can't be a thing. Men need to get a grip of themselves and just get over it. Like, have a listen to this WhatsApp voice message.
Postnatal depression in men. Are you serious? Is this a new thing now? Look, when a baby comes along, everybody gets put out. Your sleeping pattern, your eating patterns, you aren't as close to your wife or your girlfriend. But for a man to get postnatal depression, seriously, lads, do me a favour.
And that is the reaction, I have to say, from most people coming into us right now. Michael, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Michael?
How are you doing, Adrian?
Sorry, Michael, by the way, our telephone number is 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98 if you want to throw your tuppence worth into this. Sorry, Michael, your wife experienced postnatal depression. Have you ever heard of it in men?
It was my ex-partner, but it's not. No, see, what I think is happening here is these guys who would suffer this they put their wives ahead of themselves too much, kind of thing. Their wives' feelings and emotions come before their own, and they're not taking care of themselves. So they're not able to
what do you make of the reaction from people, and loads of different messages from people basically saying, are you for real? Is this conversation for real?
Yeah. Sorry, say that again?
What do you make of the messages that we're getting from people saying, really, this can't be for real?
They have a point, yeah. Cheers, man. Yeah, they definitely have a point. I mean, hormonally, it's not physically possible for women are having the baby. They're being hormonally affected, so this is more of a psychosomatic kind of thing. I would definitely believe.
Yeah, I mean, this message says, my God, give us a break. Now we are turning men into women. As men, it's our job to be strong and helpful to women, not this snowflake man. Man up, lads, says that message.
Thanks, cheers.
Isn't that part of the problem, though, with men's mental health, that we're told to man up?
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of men need to start kind of making themselves centre of their own world so that they can be strong in these situations, because you need to be a rock. You need to be like an oak tree when this shit happens. When this stuff happens. And that's the best thing a man can do. But a man joining in his wife's postnatal depression is just, this is the way the world is. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, you're not going to help your wife by, if your wife's having a tough time and she's having a breakdown, you joining her in that breakdown is not going to help anyone, especially the baby. Like, if you have other kids in the gas. In fact,
it was something I said to Pádraig O'Meara, and that I should imagine if a man says I'm, dealing with postnatal depression, he's going to be called selfish, that he should be looking after his wife first and all of that. But is that part of the reason that this is never talked about? And it's a conversation I've never heard before.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is a stigma around men dealing with their emotions and stuff like that. But I think the problem is, like, in today's society, and I've witnessed this with my own eyes, is where men are dealing with their emotions. We're giving males a female solution to a male problem. Men and women are different, regardless of what anyone says, and how we deal with things is different. And I know from my own experience, life experience, and I'm around a while. Men need a purpose, where, like, women can have a chat with each other, and the chat doesn't have to make any sense, but the fact that they're having the chat is good for them, and they benefit from that. Whereas men need to kind of a different approach to their kind of mental health. Men sitting
but the funny thing is, I mean, I know you're saying men need to talk a bit more and all of that, but the funny thing is, when we do have a conversation like this, the messages are from people coming in are, lads, this isn't a real thing, get over yourselves.
Yeah.
So how's a man meant to open up about it?
Well, I'm not saying that men need to open up about it. I mean, like, see, a lot of lads bought into this kind of thing that you need to be emotional as a man, and you don't necessarily need to be emotional as a man. Emotions are important, but emotions for men and emotions for women are very, very different. Men just need focus and purpose. I'm telling you, having a purpose as a man makes a huge difference. Like, and I'm not saying that these guys who are going through this, because, obviously there are guys going through this, and they need to do what they need to do, talk to a therapist or whatever they need to do to get through or whatever. I'm not trying to say that these guys need to just stop doing what they're doing and listen to what I'm saying. I'm just saying in general, moving forward as a society or species or whatever, I think we need to kind of look at how we deal with men's mental health as opposed to women's health, because we're giving men a female blueprint to fix their problems, or men need a different approach.
Okay, but let me read this message, and it says, there you go, poor men, and that's not speaking sarcastically. Suicide rates soaring in young men. It's hard to be a man these days, and there's no need for an International Men's Day. Fair enough. The point being, in fact, Shane, your point on this is the same, that this is an absolute myth.
Yeah, of course it is. It's the biggest load of joke ever. Like, they have this and they have that. When you grow up, it's just men feeling that they're being pushed out because the women are putting all their attention onto the child and they're not getting their attention anymore.
Well, like I said earlier on, 5 to 10% of new dads suffer postnatal depression.
It's not. It's what it is. They feel left out because they're used to just having them and the girlfriend and being able to do this, and the girlfriend showing them all the attention and having their sex whenever they want and doing whatever they want. Now all of a sudden they're not getting that because the mother is spending more time with the baby and she's tired and she doesn't want to be around them because she doesn't feel herself anymore and all that. Men need to just look after the woman who brought the baby into the world for them.
Well, okay, let me read this. Let me read this message, Shane, and see what you make of this. Okay, come on, lads. I thought we'd gotten past believing men can't have mental health issues. This is ridiculous. This is just going to make more men feel like they need to keep this stuff inside and not talk about it. Look, if the man commits suicide because he kept it all in, isn't going to help the woman or the baby. Let them talk about it and get the help they need. Cop on and realise that men have the same emotions and get depressed too.
Right. Well, I'm not talking about mental health as a thing that men can't have mental health problems. I'm talking about postnatal depression. Right? They now didn't carry the baby for 9 months. What have they got to be depressed about? They have a beautiful baby in their arms.
But you could say the exact same thing to a woman, Shane, who's dealing with postnatal depression.
Well, the postnatal depression is more the woman misses the child being inside them. and they don't feel themselves, they're getting down because they don't feel like they have that the men don't look at them the same way that they did because their bodies are changing and all that stuff. So when it comes to women having it, yeah, absolutely. Like, my wife was terrible with it on our tour. But what I'm saying is that men should be there to comfort the women. Men are there supposed to be the strong ones.
Okay, but isn't this part of the problem with men's mental health? Like, somebody just texted in, what a stupid bloody topic. Now, you might think it is, but
it's not a stupid topic. It's not. I'm not talking about men's health. Men's mental health is a major topic in Ireland. But us as men don't talk about it. When we get down, we either drink or we just, get angry, and we just blame it on something else because we're afraid to tell people what is wrong with us. That's just men as a general. But what I'm saying about the postnatal depression part is that's the biggest load of codswallop ever. Men being in mental health issues, I understand totally about that. We're just afraid to talk about it as men. But I just don't believe men can have postnatal depression. That's the time you're supposed to man up and look after your child.
But
mother of your child.
And Shane, if I'm to be honest, that's what the majority of messages coming in are saying. Man up, get a grip of yourself and all of that. But isn't that the problem with men's mental health?
No. What I'm talking about is when mental health, as I said to you, there is men out there that won't talk about their mental health issues. I'm saying men trying to say these postnatal depression is the biggest lot of causal ever. If you're a man and you have a problem, talk to someone about it. Talk to a mate. Ring someone. Do whatever you have to do, but talk to someone about it. I'm talking about the postnatal depression side of it. There's a lot of men out there that stuff hiding it. As I said, you go to turn to drink, you turn to gambling, you turn to anything else to try not to just stand up and say, listen, I have a problem. But the minute you do that, the weight gets lifted off your shoulders, you feel great, and you can relax around yourself. But the postnatal depression thing, sorry, I just cannot buy
You're not buying into that at all. All right, stay there for a second. Holy Jesus, says this message. Like, a man doesn't carry the baby, so how can he get postnatal depression? Like, a woman's body releases all these chemicals. This doesn't happen in men, so how are they suffering from postnatal depression? Pete, what do you make of the reaction to this? Most people saying, lads, get a grip of yourselves.
I think people need to just sort of sit down and relax for 1 second. Okay, postnatal depression. Okay, maybe rename it. Rather than say that it's postnatal depression, because women do suffer from postnatal depression as well. However, ignoring the fact that this is a problem in men is a problem in my eyes, and it's actually quite worrying to hear people turn around and say, "Man up." You know what I mean? Are we not supposed to be, trying to sort of nurture the fact that men suffer with mental health issues? And no matter what way you put it, and to the gentleman that was talking there, not that I'm being aggressive towards him or getting annoyed, this is a mental health issue. No matter what way you put it, it's depression in a form. And that's what we have to look at. Rather than go, oh, you didn't carry the baby, or you didn't do this, or you didn't do that. He's still suffering. No matter what way you put it.
Stay there for a second, Pete, and let me just play this WhatsApp voice message from a woman.
Hi, Adrian. I would absolutely agree with men sort of maybe suffering depression or mental health as a result of a new baby, because their night's sleep is affected. They are put out about it, and I think it's great if it's opened up and men can talk about it openly and not feel like it was. I think it's so right. I think that's a lot of problems today in society. Men feeling, I have to have the stiff upper lip, I have to be the best, I have to keep the good side out, everything is grand, when it's not really. So, yeah, put it out there. Good on yous.
Andrew, I'm going to talk to you straight after the break, but you do believe that there can be such a thing as postnatal depression in men?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely,
stay there for 1 second. I'll come back to you straight after the break. And Shane, stay on the line there as well if you can. And I'd love to hear from you. It's a conversation I've never heard on the radio ever about postnatal depression in men. It is a thing because between 5 and 10% of new dads are suffering from postnatal depression, or postpartum depression is what it's actually called. This study from the States shows that the risk goes up to between 24 and 50% of men whose partners are suffering from postnatal depression. I'd love to hear from you. We'll take a quick break. We're back in a second.
98 FM's
Dublin Talks
with Des Kelly Interiors, the wood floor experts who supply and fit your new wood floor from start to finish, hassle-free. DesKelly.ie. 98 FM.
We're in the middle of a conversation about postpartum depression or postnatal depression, or call it what you will. Between 5 and 10% of new dads suffer from postpartum depression. And as soon as we start of the conversation this morning, the reaction from loads of people was, really, lads, snap out of it, get a grip, grow up. Let me read this message that just come into us on 0877 98 98 98. I completely agree. I think men definitely can get postnatal depression. They don't understand what a woman goes through. We feel the baby's kicks. We get the morning sickness, the hormone changes. They only see a growing bump and then they are landed with a baby. They have to share this woman now. It's a massive change for any man to go through. It doesn't mean they're not happy. It just means they're struggling. And we set a task to ourselves to try and find a man who will admit that he suffered from postnatal depression. Dara, you did on your third child.
I did there, Adrian. I had a boy and he's 14 years of age. I had a girl, she is 3 years of age. I have a boy now and he's 18 months old. When he was born, I didn't want nothing got to do with the child. I just owned him. I didn't want nothing else. And now, it's the best thing that ever happened. You know, I'm sorry about getting upset.
No.
It's the first time I've ever talked about it.
It's the first time you've ever talked about it?
I just heard it on the radio this morning. And I said to myself, I went through that. That's what I went through. You know?
And you're not alone, Dara, because quite a large percentage of men actually do go through this. So explain to me what that was like. Okay, your first two kids, no problem at all. Everything went grand. You were happy as Larry. So what was the difference with your most recently born child?
I think it was because I wasn't there when he was born.
Say that again. You weren't there when what?
I wasn't there when he was born, like when he came out. I was there when we first I was in the delivery room.
Oh, right, but you weren't there when your third one was born?
No, I was in work. And I couldn't get out. And I think that's what hit me, because I wasn't there.
So, at the start, you just found it really difficult to bond with the child?
Oh, I didn't want nothing to do with the child. Nothing at all. I didn't even want to hold him. I didn't want to look at him. Wouldn't even get in a picture with him. I just did not want the child at all.
And had you been happy about the pregnancy up to then?
Oh, I was delighted. Delighted. It's only when the child came, and I wasn't there when the child was born, and that's what hit me. Straight away, I was like, what am I doing? Like, why is this? You know, he's 18 months old, and the bond that the two of us had, it's just unbelievable, you know?
Wow. So how long did it take you to deal with that? I'm assuming, maybe I'm wrong to assume this, Dara, but I'm going to assume that you didn't even get any help to deal with your feelings.
No, I didn't get anything at all.
Which would be typical of men.
When I heard it, it's just when I heard it this morning, just hit me straight away. That was me when I heard the lad talking, saying the symptoms, you know, that was me. I spit on the side and I let them tell him that was me, like, you know.
It sounds like it's still very raw with you, that you nearly feel guilty for feeling that way.
I do, because he's his child. There's nothing more I can do about it. It kills me still to this day. I've never talked about this again. This is my first time, because I didn't know. I didn't know what was going on with me until I heard this morning.
Have you ever even talked to your partner about it?
Nobody has ever found it. This is my first time to talk about this. I didn't even give my real name. I didn't. Because I'm afraid if I give my real name, somebody will know.
So, and the point of this conversation, Dara, is that men do suffer from postnatal depression. They do have different reactions, but you've heard yourself from the calls and the texts and whatever that we've been getting in, people are saying snap out of it, get a grip of yourself. That must make it even more upsetting to admit.
Oh yeah, it is. It's only now when I go home, you know, I'm going to actually sit down and have that chat with my partner. Because
now you know. Yeah, now you know.
Now I know what it is. Now I know why I was feeling like that.
How long did it last? How long did it take for you to for want of a better word, come around? Because I know, like most men, you didn't get help. You've just been dealing with it yourself.
8 to 9 months, Adrian.
8 to 9 months.
8 to 9 months I was here.
So 8 to 9 months before you could even hold your own child.
Bond with the child, yeah, before I could bond him. Now is the best thing that life has spread, you know. Now I have a 14-year-old, a 3-year-old, and he's 18 months old. And the bond that I have with my 3 kids, it's just unbelievable.
That's lovely to hear, Dara. It really is. So for people, and like you said, you didn't even know this was a thing before you heard this conversation on the radio today.
No, I hadn't got a clue, Adrian. I hadn't got a clue.
Now that you've heard the conversation, you can now recognise that that is what was wrong with me. Yeah.
And now I'm actually going to go home now. When I finish work today, I'm going to go home now and I'm going to have a chat with my partner about this. Because I didn't know what was going on, so I didn't know which way to start the story. I didn't want to overreact what I was for you know.
And was she aware that you were going through something?
No.
No.
Nothing at all, Adrian. Everything was all grand. Everybody's saying, oh yeah, because he lost the partner and this and that. No, Adrian. My partner was still there. My partner was still 100% behind me. Everything. So she never knew what was going on. She always said, when you feel the baby, I said, I have to do something. Or if there's any chance of doing this, I have to do it. I'd always make up an excuse not to be at the baby.
Okay, well,
I knew it was wrong, but I just didn't know what way to go about it. Only when I heard the lad talking about it this morning, I said, that was me all over. So I'm a long time listener, first time caller, and I love this show, but look, I just have to go, Adrian. I have to go back to work.
No problem, Darren.
Just on me break,
and
okay?
I appreciate you talking to us, and I'm glad you can have that conversation because of what you heard on 98 FM today with herself later on today. Best of luck to you, Darren.
Oh, indeed. Thanks very much,
Thanks.
Adrian.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a listen to this message. And for those of you who've been dissing this conversation, you've just heard Darren. You've just heard him pour his heart out there. He was that person. He couldn't hold his own child for months on end. And now he knows what it was. My hubby said, leaving for work this morning, here's what he said. God, there has to be more to life than this. Now you have me thinking. We're both in the thick of it. 2 babas under 2. It's very stressful. The toddler is full on and up since 5. Anyway, I'm probably depressed at the minute myself, too, as I have very little help. And the minute he comes home, I'm throwing babies at him and giving out about how stressed I am. Bottom line is it is a very demanding job at times, and you have to stay strong. If he told me he had postnatal depression and needed a break, I would probably do time for him. I know he is struggling, but I am also struggling as well, as going through the hormonal changes, lack of sleep and being confined at home. I think men have to stay strong for their partners, bottom line, says that message. And you just heard from Dara. He did try to stay strong. He didn't tell her anything was wrong. And it is kind of sad to hear a guy going out to work this morning saying there has to be more to life than this. Shane, when you hear that story, you hear that message, the guy heading off to work this morning, would you not think twice about what you were saying earlier on?
Absolutely not. Still not. So I didn't change. I'm not going to change my opinion. Fair enough, like, that lad has his story and he's gone through that, whatever. I still just don't see the point in it. I'm not being bad to what I said. I stick with my opinions all the time. I never change when I hear a story, or I never change my opinion on things like that. The only thing I actually ever did change my mind on was when you did the thing on when you the organ donor.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
I changed. I actually went and did that. Like, that's the only thing I changed my mind on. But it's just not. It's just what I said. Like, I have to go to work. My wife stays at home with our kids, so I work. Don't get me wrong. It's not that I enjoy getting up and going to work. I'd love to stay at home and be with my kids all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like that. But I can't do it. I go home, my wife needs a break. She has to looking after the kids all day. She has to clean the house, she has to do all that. My break is going to work. A man's break or a woman's break, whichever one is staying at home or where everyone's going to work, is going out to is getting that break away. That's your breakaway is going to work. Coming home, and you should be happy to come home to your kids. Like, you should be. The minute you see your kids, everything in the rest of the world doesn't mean that.
Okay, but that may be you, Shane. But I mean, you heard that guy, Dara. He couldn't even look at the child, let alone hold it.
What do you mean? Couldn't even look at your own child? You have to make that child.
But Shane, it's you that can't understand it, and and in fact, that guy Dara didn't understand it himself until he heard this conversation today. Let me bring in one last call on this, and that's you, Andrew. You're on 98 FM. How are you?
How's it going?
Good,
I just have to commend Dara, first of all, for being so open and honest about it. I mean, looking at the timeline of a father going through a pregnancy with a wife. I mean, from the start of it, if your partner is unlucky enough to get very hormonal throughout the whole process, you've got this. You don't recognise your partner at times, and they become very lashy at you. At no point in any of this conversation do I mean to play down anything that the partner is going through. I mean, women have their own problems in relation to this, and they're very real. And I don't mean to say one were better or worse than the other. But I mean, so taking that your partner has changed dramatically throughout the pregnancy, taking that there's mounting financial pressure because a baby is expensive. I mean, getting everything ready, getting everything together, coming up to the baby's arrival, the baby arrives, and, heaven forbid your partner suffers with postnatal or, has issues after the pregnancy and ends up bedridden. You're super dad now. You need to take care of baby. You need to take care of wife. I mean, heaven forbid you have more children as well. On top of the mounting financial pressure, on top of the needs to get back into work yourself because paternity leave over here still isn't brilliant. All of this mounts up. You reduce your amount of sleep. You start to comfort eat because that's the only way to get through life, And as that caller or that message came in points out, there has to be more to life. Sometimes it can feel like that because you are trying to do as much as you possibly can and really not appeasing anything. And taking one step further, I mean, men are logically problem solvers, and often you can't fix a baby. You can't fix a baby's problem. Sometimes they're just fussy at 2 o'clock in the morning for an hour and a half.
So what do you say then, Andrew, to... and I'm still getting messages, even after Dara's call, I'm still getting messages from people saying this isn't a thing. In fact, one just came in here a second ago, and it says... It's not depression. It's men feeling sorry for themselves with their sleepless nights. Their routine has gone out the window and time isn't their own anymore. What do people expect when they have a baby? But this person is saying this isn't depression. It's just an upset to your routine.
Well, I mean, look, everybody's entitled to their opinion on the matter, but and I don't mean to play down for a second how difficult post-pregnancy is for women. I'm merely trying to highlight that there is a lot of pressure put on the man throughout that process, and it can often turn into a mental health issue or just a lack of interest in taking part, or even just a drawn-out outlook on life as you go forward. I mean, having kids underneath kind of 3 or 4 is very time-consuming. When you have more than one, it gets even worse. And I suppose I'm just trying to highlight that it's only natural that when you're going through all of this, you might feel, I don't want to say sorry for yourself, but absolutely down and blue about it because the pressure is mounting. And we, as men, are programmed not to talk about this.
And like I said, with the messages that I'm getting, it's like, let's not even admit that this is a thing. A couple of your messages before I wrap this up. This is the only thing this conversation is proving is that we still have a huge amount to learn. Suicide organisations must cringe hearing these attitudes, says Stephen. And then John says, it's good to hear men talking about their feelings today. We have heard women talking about their problems and feelings for long enough now. And then last one, this man who suffered when his child was born, I'm sure he probably did suffer with some depression, but he did not have postnatal depression. Seriously, he can't have had that because he's a man. And one last message, it's just depression those guys are suffering from. You can't call it postnatal depression. That's nonsense to describe it that way. If you've been affected by this issue, there is an organisation that can help. It's Postnatal Depression Ireland. Their phone number is 021 4922083. That's 021 4922083. And all I can say is, if you are dealing with life like that guy who walked out of the house this morning saying there has to be more to it than this, or Dara, and you're keeping it all to yourself, there is somebody that you can talk to. And maybe it would be helpful even to just pick up the phone. 021 4922 083, postnatal depression, Ireland. And when you are talking about this conversation later on, remember that you heard it as I have heard it for the very first time on 98 FM. I've never heard that conversation discussed before. Now, you're listening to Dublin Talks. This is Adrian Kennedy. After the break, who's hogging the bed sheets? How sharing a bed with someone can sometimes be a complete pain.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors, the wood floor experts who supply and fit your new wood floor from start to finish, hassle-free. DesKelly.ie 98 FM.
And this is Adrian Kennedy with you until midday today. Jeremy is here in the studio with me because we want to share with you something that we came across. Wake up there.
Oh, sorry. The reason I'm tired today is because, like a lot of people listening to the show, if you share your bed with a partner, be they male or female, the chances are you didn't get a good night's sleep last night. Because, according to the news today, Adrian, sharing a bed with somebody else isn't all it's cracked up to be. Unlike what you see in the movies, the story says, sharing a bed with a partner is not nice at all. Movies portray a cute couple cuddling as they drift off to sleep together. In reality, co-sleeping is a horrible experience. And they go through all the different things that are basically horrible about sharing a bed with somebody else. Now, you share a bed with somebody.
I do.
Is it...
I'm lucky in that we have a big bed, right? It's a queen-size bed, so it's a 6 foot by 6 foot bed. So you can nearly wave goodnight to each other. It's that big.
You need a compass to find each other in that bed.
It's big. So I think that's what makes our sleeping actually work all right, because we're miles apart from each other.
Yeah, but we all don't have these big posh beds. In the real world, I have a double bed, just an average-sized double bed where we don't have much room. And one of the problems we have, and I had this problem again last night, and I don't know if many other people have this problem. If you do, you can let us know. And this is one of the problems about sharing a bed, according to this article. Heat requirements. When the person you're sharing the bed with likes a warm bed and you like a cold bed, or vice versa.
One, yeah.
How do you deal with it? My wife, our bed is like, it's like there's lava flowing through it. She puts on the electric blanket about 2 hours before she's going to bed. We were going to bed at 11 o'clock last night. She put on the electric blanket at 9 o'clock. By 11 o'clock, there was steam coming off the duvet, okay? The duvet we have in the bed is about a 60 tog. Now, for those of you who don't know what a tog is, duvets are measured by tog. The heaviest duvet, the bigger the tog. Our duvet is so heavy that it needs a crane to lift it off the bed.
Okay,
that's
you're exaggerating a tad.
Just a tad.
Okay, but the point being, you like a cool bed and she likes it like a sauna.
And this is a row we have every single night. So she has the electric blanket on for 2 hours. She has the hot water bottles in the bed. By the time we get into the bed, I end up getting scorched. My skin is actually burnt. And she's like, oh, Ger, it's lovely and toasty, Ger. I'm like, no. Cold beds are the only way to go, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so as well. We don't have an electric blanket in our bed. Okay,
it's the drawbacks of sharing a bed with somebody. That's what it is.
Okay, text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. On paper, it's lovely. It's what you do when you're in love with somebody and you share a house with them. You share a bed with them. But what are the downsides to sharing a bed with somebody? Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98.
They're saying there is at least, if you're to read this article, you'll never get into a relationship or share a bed with anybody again. They're saying in this article that there's at least 15 downsides to sharing a bed with somebody else.
Okay, what is the downside for you of sharing a bed with your other half? Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. Lauren, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Lauren.
Hello, how are you?
Now, Lauren, you not only share a bed with your partner, but with the kids as well.
Yeah, I do. My youngest and I have done since I suppose I had kids. So I have a sliver at the side of the bed, on my side, sleep on my side, and literally the length of me and the width of me from the side down is the space I have in the bed, and that I can't, that's it. I'm half out of the bed and half in the bed, practically.
And how do you sleep?
I'm used to it. So even when I don't have the kids in the bed now, I'm used to sleeping right like that every night. It's yeah.
So you wouldn't know yourself if you had a whole bed to yourself?
Wouldn't have it. I'd probably still sleep on the side. I haven't a clue. But and I'm such a light sleeper as well. So my partner, he doesn't snore, but he sleeps very loudly. If you know what I mean. He has that really loud breathing thing going on, and I hate that I do. And you have to wake him up, like, roll over, like, onto his other side, like, you know what I mean? So he doesn't be making any more noise. Can't stand that.
My friend Anne-Marie, if she's listening, Harry Anne-Marie, she's in the same situation as you, Lauren. She sleeps with a man who sleeps like a starfish, so he sleeps with his arms and legs wide out. And she says, she calls it the Gaza Strip, the space of bed that she has on the side of her bed. Because she says it's literally this little thin slice of land that she has, the Gaza Strip, and she can't get outside it. She's literally stuck on it.
I feel her pain.
And what size bed have you got?
Just a normal double bed, like normal bed.
You see, Adrian, you're the only one who has a queen size bed.
Maybe it's because when we bought it when I moved in first, and she was like, "Oh, really? I have to share a bed with you? Let's get a big one."
Well, you were a lot bigger back then as well, so that's probably why she bought it.
Anyway, there are lots of downsides to sharing a bed with your other half. What is the worst thing about sharing a bed for you? Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. What is the biggest downside for you of sharing a bed with your partner? Now, I have to say I sleep very well, but my secret to having a good night's sleep is getting asleep before she does.
A lot of people are saying, can anybody confirm this, that you can buy a dual, have you ever heard of these before? A dual electric blanket. That doesn't exist. Where it has dual controls.
Oh, I have heard of them, yeah.
How do they work?
Just one heat on one side, there's a different heat on the other side.
No way. Yeah. So you both have separate switches?
Basically, yeah.
So she can put hers up to 60 degrees and I can have mine down at -10?
Yep.
So mine's like the Titanic and hers is like hell.
Never want to exaggerate at all.
I'm going to invite you over to my bedroom tonight, okay?
You're grand.
No, I am.
After a night with the dogs, I'm going over to your gaff.
No, I just want you to crawl inside the bed and I want you to tell me how badly the bed is heated. It's absolutely crazy.
Okay, what are the downsides to sharing a bed in your world? Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. The biggest downside for me, says Pete, is her mouldy feet touching off mine in the middle of the night. Her mouldy feet touching off mine in the middle of the night.
What's mouldy about that?
I don't think I even want to know. My husband says I spread on the bed like Russia on the map. Which is big.
Yes, it's very big. It takes over a huge space.
It's big. Keep your messages coming in. 0877 98 98 98. Paddy, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Paddy?
How's things? How are you?
What's the big downside of sharing a bed?
Oh, my missus, I tell you, we have a Super King bed. I bought it specifically just so I wouldn't have to touch her in bed. And she sleeps angled, so like with her arse sticking out, and she moves her feet and she steals the covers. I don't know how it's possible.
So you end up every morning with no covers on you?
Yeah. It's not even in the morning when we go to bed, she steals them as well.
Really?
Yeah.
So if you had your way, Paddy, would you like to sleep in a bed on your own?
No.
Now, I do always think it's a sign of a troubled relationship if you're in different rooms or in different beds. But couples actually do it because sharing a bed isn't actually a normal thing to do. Really isn't. As people,
it's mostly older people that usually get single beds.
Yeah, because they probably sleep better.
Yeah. But there, as Tim was saying there about the electric blanket, just tell her to buy a single one and put it on her side so it doesn't heat up.
And that's the end of that. All right, thanks very much indeed. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice message.
I co-sleep with my 2 kids in a massive super king size bed, and sometimes my husband is there, sometimes he isn't. I much prefer sleeping with the kids. My husband's 6'4", so kids are smaller, and yeah, I've no issue with it. It doesn't bother me. Once everybody gets a good night's sleep, I really don't care where I sleep.
We're talking about the downsides of sharing a bed with somebody. We're back in a sec. 98. Live Live and exclusive to Dublin's 98 FM, Monday through Friday between 10 and midday. This is Adrian Kennedy. You're with 98 FM's Dublin Talks. And Trish is here with Thursday's top headlines.
Thanks, Adrian. Dublin Bus is investigating footage of a young man hanging onto the back of a fast-moving bus. It was shared on social media this week and is believed to have been taken as the bus was driving through Finglas. Dublin Bus has described the stunt as unsafe and extremely dangerous. There's a call to introduce community wardens in Dublin to issue fines on the streets. Labour councillor Dermot Lacey says they could act as dog, litter and parking wardens. He's suggesting they could also have the power to issue tickets to motorists who park in cycle lanes. And there's still a way for music fans to go to the sold-out Electric Picnic, but you have to either cycle or run to the festival. Tour de Picnic is a fundraising event where participants cycle 80 kilometres or run 17 kilometres to Stradbally in County Laois. Those who take part and raise money for charity get their festival ticket at the finish line. And now you're up to date on 98.
Thanks very much indeed, Trish. And just some news that's literally coming in this very second. One former British soldier is to be charged with the murders of 2 men and the attempted murders of 4 others over the bloody Sunday shootings, which is interesting. All right, thanks very much, Trish.
98 FM's Dublin Talks. Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
It's Thursday morning. Good morning to you. I hope everything is good in your world. I'm Adrian Kennedy, and between now and midday today, this is 98 FM's Dublin Talks, the mid-morning talk and phone-in show for Dublin, by Dublin, and about Dublin. And it's Thursday, so tonight we are having our night at the Dogs. We're really looking forward to it. If you've gotten your invite, we look forward to meeting you in Shelbourne Park this evening. We have a few sponsored races, and really looking forward to a great night out at the Dogs this evening. Now, we're in the middle of a conversation all to do with the downsides of sharing a bed with your other half. And there are many. In fact, there was a list of 16 different reasons not to share a bed with somebody. Like I said, we made an investment in our bed, and we have a big one. And we can literally sleep without ever coming near each other, to be honest. It's that big. We wave goodnight to each other. Stephen, you have a suggestion for the heat issue and the duvet issue.
Yeah, well, this was a huge issue for me as well, Adrian. I sleep with just a sheet, and my wife would sleep with 10 duvets if she could. So what we did was, I went out and bought a 4.5, a single one, and she bought a single 13.5. So we're both happy now.
Oh, right, so you both... this is actually something that happened to myself and my missus a couple of months ago. We were staying in a hotel, right? And the hotel had a big double bed, but it had 2 single duvets on the bed. And it was fantastic.
Yeah, well, I tell you, I would have to get out into a different bed, Adrian, because I can't sleep. I have to have windows open as well. I just can't stand the heat in the night.
Right, so you like a cold bed, you like a cool bed.
I'd sleep with nothing on me if I could, Adrian. I'd just throw a sheet over me most nights.
And, okay, so you, your solution was to get 2 single duvets and you have one each. And yours is a light one and hers is a heavy one.
Mine is the lightest you can get, and I use that in the winter when it's a bit colder.
Very good.
So
okay.
Yeah, so that's take a lot of managers.
Yeah, and it's worked for you.
Yeah, absolutely. The last 8 years, I'd say we're doing it.
Really? That's brilliant. Okay, that's a great suggestion. And like I said, in a hotel a couple of months back, we were greeted by 2 single duvets on the one double bed, and we thought it was a bit odd, but we actually slept brilliantly. So, yeah, maybe that is the solution to all of life's problems. Thanks very much indeed, Stephen. Let me read a couple of your messages before we wrap this up. My missus does be on fire, I do be freezing, says this message. I'm not allowed near her elbows because she'd kill me. And one more, the answer to this is getting 2 single duvets in the bed. I always change my sheets when my husband goes away on business. He never appreciates the nice sheets and sweats all over them, so it's my treat to me when he goes away, says Michelle. Thank you very much indeed, Michelle. And let me just finish off by playing one quick WhatsApp voice message.
How are you, lads? About sharing a bed with your partner. It has to be farts.
No good. No good at all. Farts. No.
No good. So he used to put up with that, does he? All right. And people tossing and turning is another issue, and there's not much that you can do about that when somebody is tossing and turning. You can't stop them. We have a double-sized bed for our dogs to sleep in the room, and my missus is always talking and laughing in her sleep, which then wakes the dogs up, and then they think Mammy's awake and it's time to go outside, says that message. And another message just on the duvet thing. That's why in Spain they have single beds in their hotels. They don't all have single beds in their hotels. And one last message. My other half grinds her teeth. And I don't know how anybody can sleep with a teeth grinder. I can remember when my daughter was young, she used to have awful teeth grinding. Now, she doesn't anymore, thank God, but I can always remember if she'd be in the room, my God almighty, it would go right through you. Anyway, thank you very much indeed for all of your calls, comments, texts and opinions live from Dublin City Centre. This is 98 FM.
98 FM's Dublin Talks. Call 6797 981.
And this is Adrian until midday today. If you want to get in contact with us, our phone number is 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. Now, here's a conversation we have had before, but not in this way, and it's something that is in the news today, which is why I want to bring it back up again. And here's a question for you. Should, and this has been talked about before, should unvaccinated children be banned from attending schools, playgroups and creches? It's a debate that is waging at the moment after it was announced that the Italian government has brought back a law. They did have it, they got rid of it and they brought it back again, banning children from attending creches and nursery schools if they haven't been vaccinated. The law will make it compulsory for children in preschool education to be vaccinated against 10 diseases, including measles, tetanus, polio, and so on. Now, the move has prompted a huge spike in measles cases worldwide, people not getting their children vaccinated, including a number of outbreaks here in Ireland. And one of the reasons behind parents around the world not vaccinating their children is a claim which links the MMR vaccine to autism, even though this claim has been dismissed countless times by medical experts. Other parents feel that it's their right to vaccinate or not vaccinate if they don't trust the vaccines. We were reading an interesting online poll earlier on the Journal, and the question that they asked was, should children be banned from attending creches and play schools if they haven't been vaccinated? Okay, that's the question that is asked online. And here's the result of this poll, which is fascinating. 73% of people believe that we should follow the lead of the Italians and ban children from creches and preschools and everything else if they haven't been vaccinated. 73%. So in Italy, they've basically brought back a law which bans children from attending creches and nursery schools if they haven't been vaccinated against the list of 10 different diseases, including measles, tetanus, polio, mumps, and so on. And we're asking, should we do the same thing here? Now, obviously, one of the arguments is, little Johnny comes in, he hasn't been vaccinated, he's got the measles. All the other kids who have been vaccinated won't catch the measles because they've been vaccinated. That's the theory, anyway. But a lot of people believe that in order to force parents to get their children vaccinated, the kids should be banned from creches and nursery schools. And I'd love to hear from you on this. On 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. Let's go to somebody who has a young child. Michael, you're on 98 FM. How are you?
How are you, Adrian?
Michael, the Italians have brought back a law that they used to have before, which bans children from attending creches and nursery schools if they haven't been vaccinated. What do you think of this?
I think it's stupid that they had to bring back the law in the first place. You know, all kids should be vaccinated.
They should be. I think most medical experts would agree. But some parents, not all, some parents are worried.
About what?
About the vaccine and the possible... I mean, you've heard many...
There's no correlation between vaccines and...
There are claims... And I know these claims have been rubbished by experts, but claims that the MMR vaccine has led to a rise or has a connection in any way with autism. And, we hear about increased cases of autism, and parents are concerned they don't want their child to develop autism.
No, child. No, it's never been proven that autism and vaccines are connected. There's no link between them. It's just fear-mongering.
Okay, as far...
And celebrities saying, don't get your kids vaccinated. It's stupid, look. It's stupid. And if your child isn't vaccinated, then no, it shouldn't go to shouldn't go to childcare with the other children. You know what I mean?
Okay, so this should be used as a weapon, if you like, to force parents to get their kids vaccinated.
Yeah, it should be. Totally.
And like I said, I'm interested that the survey online earlier on we were looking at, and the question asked was, should children be banned from creches and nursery schools if they're not vaccinated? 73% of people said yes, they should.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's not higher.
Yeah, actually. Well, 22% said no, and 4% said they don't know. But 73% said yes, they should be banned from creches and from nursery schools if they haven't been vaccinated.
I'd want to know if there's children in the same creche as my child that aren't vaccinated. Because I'd take my child out and go, no, well, every child... Yeah, either they're all vaccinated or none of them are vaccinated. You can't half and half, like...
All right, stay there for 1 second, Michael. I'd love to hear from you on this on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. My son, says this message, is 19 and he's just recovered from a bout of the mumps he was vaccinated against. The HSE told me there is a large amount of teens that are in college are coming down with them. I agree, all kids should be vaccinated. And then another message that came in. Where's this one gone? Lads, the same law should be brought in here regardless of how people feel. In other words, it should be a weapon with which to force parents to have their children vaccinated, that kids who aren't vaccinated be banned from creches and nursery schools as a way of forcing parents to do it. Now, Amanda, sorry, it was your message I read out just a moment ago about your 19-year-old son who developed the mumps. And what are the HSE saying?
Well, they rang me the other day to find out exactly was he in college or where was he in school or and if he was getting it from them. But he's not in college, he's not in school, he's not working, so we couldn't figure out where it was. But they reckon it's in the teenagers in 19 years of age to 25 years of age have the mumps. It's an epidemic at the moment.
And these are kids who haven't been vaccinated?
Well, my son was vaccinated and he still got them.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, they say that he'll get a milder strain of it. It's not 100% that they won't get them. They just won't get the dangerous strain.
Right, okay, yes. So it won't be as severe.
No, it won't be as severe.
And I believe the same applies to measles, that you can...
you can still get them.
You can still get it, but it won't be a severe strain of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And what is your opinion on this law that they brought in Italy that other countries are considering, and that is the law banning children from attending creches and nursery schools if they haven't been vaccinated?
Yeah, I think they should ban them. I really do, because it's a scary time as a parent and it's a scary time as a child from having the mumps or the measles or any other dangerous diseases. But no, I do think they should have them all banned. I mean, every child should be vaccinated, even if it's only a milder dose. Then what's out there, I don't care.
Well, stay there for 1 second, because Graham, you don't have children yet, but you're saying basically if you did or when you do, you probably wouldn't vaccinate them yourself. Why not?
Well, there's no probably about that one, Adrian.
Oh, no probably.
There's a couple of reasons I won't have kids. I'm 35 now, and I've been waiting until I was stable enough financially and everything else that goes with it.
But I'm in a situation now where I'm probably not going to have any kids because I just can't bring them into this world. One, there's no testing been done on these vaccines in Ireland. They're like everything else. You just bring in whatever they like, and it's unproven, untested, and we're the lab rat. They're a kid, they're lab rat.
So hang on. You're saying this unproven and untested. These medicines, these vaccines.
What studies have our
all of the vaccines that we have in this country have been approved by the World Health Organization. Every single one of them.
Yeah, but they haven't been approved in Ireland. Maybe they've been approved by the World Health Organization, but who runs that? Do you know what I mean? Is it Big Pharma that runs that? Because Big Pharma are destroying the country. You can't even get CBD into Ireland because of the control they have here.
This is a separate conversation.
No. It all ties in together. It's all Big Pharma. Big Pharma are making a huge amount of money out of Ireland. Giant sums of money, and yet the Irish people are suffering to their death. That's what's going on in Ireland, and I don't trust the vaccines, to be honest with you. Same with the HPV one. It's untested, untried, and we're the lab rats. Just like 5G coming into Ireland. There's no testing done on that, apart from that it was used as a weapon back in the 70s, and now it's being used as a communications service. It's either one or the other. It's either a weapon or it can be used as communications. So that's untested as well. Yet the Irish are being used as lab rats to bring it in, and we're going to be tested on. Cancer rates are going to double, I guarantee it. And this is what it's all tied in, Adrian. All tied in together.
Now I can hear people listening to the radio now saying that's exactly what I was about to say. Do you wear a tinfoil hat?
Wait, no. I can send you all the links that I have with regards to 5G, with regards to HPV vaccines, and what's going on in America is all being swept under the carpet. Mainstream media isn't talking about it because it's basically telling you it's dangerous. And there's legal cases going on over there at the moment in America about these very vaccines that are being brought in here untested. And the World Health Organization are approving it. Who are they? Who owns the World Health Organization? It's not the Irish people. Do you know what I mean? It's people beyond Ireland. Like, Ireland's just a little hub for them that they're making money out of. We have a lot of cures for certain sicknesses that are proven, and yet Ireland can't bring them in, like CBD. Do you know what I mean? For the little kid, like a little addict.
Just because you can't do one thing doesn't mean another thing is wrong. That's ridiculous.
Adrian, it all ties in with Big Pharma, and Big Pharma own Ireland, and that's what I'm getting at. Like,
Big Pharma own Ireland.
Yeah, but prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Prove me that I'm wrong on that one. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, so let me read this message. Where is he getting this information? Not everything on the internet is true.
I don't get everything.
In fact, most thing on the internet is not true.
Very little in the mainstream media is true. You have to seek through all the crap on the internet to get the good sources. But the mainstream media just feed you. They just feed you what they think you should know. And that's biased towards the government and Big Pharma, because our government is owned by Big Pharma. Big Pharma own our government. They're the ones who call the shots. That's why Ireland is own our...
You definitely have to have a tinfoil hat on your head.
Yeah, well, do the research I do, Adrian, and stop being so biased towards your boss. Have a heart. Be human.
What's that meant to mean? What's that meant to mean?
Adrian, you're supposed to be a reporter. You're supposed to be going and seeking the truth. And all you're doing is pushing a bias.
Hang on,
you're pushing a bias.
You're
already on the side of the vaccines coming into this conversation. You've already have your mind made up for you.
Yeah, I have my own. I have my own children vaccinated. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's your mind has been made up for you. You can't tell me what research you've done personally on this issue, because you haven't done any. You're taking our government's word for it. And, you know, that's what I'm against. I don't believe them for a second, because of the mess the country's in at the moment. And in so many different areas. It's not just one area like healthcare. There's, like, I can't even name them, there's that many. It's every area of life in Ireland is a disaster. Like, I'm 35 and I battled with suicide for 7 years when this country collapsed. I didn't know whether to leave or stay and retrain myself, so I stayed and retrained as a truck driver. Worst thing I ever done.
Okay, but what has any of that got to do with...
But it's all tied in together. We are owned. Our politicians do not work for us. They work for people outside of Ireland. They're owned by the EU, Big Pharma, big multinational corporations. You look at the tax that they don't pay in Ireland. That just shows you the control and corruption that's here.
Well, stay there for 1 second, Graham, because I want to explore this another bit after the break, because somebody else just texted in. Adrian, where do you get your information? You're totally one-sided. Adrian is a Big Pharma ambassador. All right, we're back in just a second.
98 FM's
Dublin Talks
with Des Kelly Interiors, the wood floor experts who supply and fit your new wood floor from start to finish, hassle-free. DesKelly.ie. 98 FM.
And this is Adrian Kennedy with you until midday today. We're talking about a law that has been brought in Italy. Well, it's actually been brought back in. They used to have this as a law, but they brought it back in. And this law will ban children from attending creches and nursery schools if they haven't been vaccinated. It'll make it compulsory for children in preschool education to be vaccinated against the listed 10 diseases. And we're asking whether or not the same thing should be done here. An online poll earlier today showed that 73% of people believe that kids should be banned from creches and nursery schools if they haven't been vaccinated. 73%. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice message.
Hey, both my kids have autism. I have a 14-year-old girl who has autism, dyspraxia, ADHD, and auditory processing disorder. And I regretted vaccinating her. I always put it down to the vaccinations. Always did. Fast forward, 14 years later, we had a little boy. And I swore I would never vaccinate him. Wasn't going to do it. Wasn't going to give him what I gave her. And then it turns out when he was 2.5 and the doctors in January, he got diagnosed with autism. So I went ahead and I vaccinated. I was so worried when he wasn't vaccinated, but I went ahead and I got him vaccinated anyway. And now I have them both booked in for the chickenpox vaccine next week, which you can only get privately, but how can autistic kids go for that one? But yeah, I would go ahead and vaccinate.
Okay, so there's a lady who believed that her child developed autism as a result of vaccinations, came to her second child, didn't have that child vaccinated, and he was still diagnosed with autism. So she's now vaccinated him because there isn't a connection. Karen, your 6-year-old has severe non-verbal autism.
She does, yeah, Adrian.
And do you believe that it has anything to do with the vaccine?
I firmly believe it's got to do with the vaccine. There was nothing wrong with her. She was meeting all her developmental milestones. She came up to the age of 12 months old. She said, Mama, Dada, Baba. She said everything. And out of the blue then, gone. As soon as I got her the MMR, different child. Complete. I remember getting the injection that day and her legs went purple. And she was crying so much that when her legs went dark purple, I brought her straight to the doctor and I asked him what had happened to her. And he couldn't explain to me what it was. And I've always said it was the MMR, always to this day, and I'll always say it was the MMR. How can a child go from being verbal to non-verbal overnight? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Okay, but you heard that message that I just played a second ago, which says that her first child was diagnosed with autism. She blamed it on the vaccine. When her second child came along, she decided, right, I'm not vaccinating this child. I'm not going to do the same thing again. And that child developed autism.
Maybe it was just a thing that happened. I don't know. But all I know is, what about all these children that got the injection for that ended up with the narcolepsy, for instance? How can a child just start going to sleep on a table at school after having an injection? I mean, there's another child here in Dublin somewhere I read about as well, and she got the cervical injection, and that poor child has never been the same either. That child can't move. It's online all the time. I'm not going to be funny. When you go and you ask for a prescription from your doctor when you're not well, he'll ask you what you're allergic to, okay? Some people are allergic to these things. Some people are fine. You know, you're always going to get a reaction. It's penicillin, sorry. When you go to the doctor, he always says, are you allergic to penicillin? Unless he knows you. If you're allergic to penicillin, you're not going to be given penicillin again. So why are they going to give you another injection? You know?
Okay, so you believe that nothing will convince you otherwise that there is a link between your child's autism. Yeah. So how do you explain that message that I played a second ago, that she was convinced in the same way that the vaccine was responsible?
Can I just say, there's so many children in this country now presenting with ADHD, autism and disabilities in regards to even down to education. Like, they're going to school now and they're being copped straight away, what is going on with our children? Why is there so many children in this country being diagnosed with autism and ADHD? Who can answer these questions for us? Like,
is it not that we're just better at diagnosing it now, Karen, than we were in the past?
So. No, I don't think so. They said years ago that a child with ADHD was just a bold child. I don't think so. It's just more and more. It's every day.
No, but sorry, that's the point I'm making, Karen, that years ago a child would have been just branded a bold child. Now we know that some of those children actually have a condition called ADHD.
But in all fairness, Adrian, there wasn't as many children years ago as there is now. I mean,
no, because it wasn't diagnosed properly. It wasn't diagnosed properly.
I don't know. There's something seriously wrong. There is something seriously wrong, and I believe it's these injections.
Okay, stay there for 1 second, Karen. 6797 981 is our telephone number. You can text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. Let me read this message. Adrian, autism is rampant now. How can we know it's not related to vaccination? I didn't let my daughter get the HPV because I was so afraid of her getting sick from it. I'm glad she didn't get it. I think the vaccinations are churned out too quickly, and I feel there isn't enough research. Marion is in Nason, County Kildare. You're on 98 FM, Marion. How are you?
I'm not too bad this morning.
Good. What do you want to say?
The message the last lady sent in, I don't think there's enough research done. As for myself, my children were vaccinated. I didn't have my daughter vaccinated against the HPV. But what I find rather challenging, or what I would say, is the contradictions in the media and all this hysteria. Where's the parents' choice if they just simply don't want to vaccinate their children? You're going to ban them? Well, not you personally, but the plan is to ban them from school.
Well, that's what the Italians are doing, yes. They're banning unvaccinated children from creches and nursery schools.
Is it Italian as a whole or just one region?
No, the whole... and this was the law in Italy. They scrapped it a couple of years ago, and they're after bringing it back again.
Now, my question is, the BCG has not been available in this country for young children for years. What if there's a breakout of tuberculosis? And what about children whose immune systems are very much compromised then? It hasn't been here. Why is there no hysteria over the BCG as there is with the MMR? Can anybody answer that? Why is there not?
If anybody has the answer to that, call us on 6797 981. Okay, let me read a message that just come into us, and it says, I'm a paediatric nurse specialising in neonatal high dependency. Vaccines are the cornerstone of paediatric health and development. In other words, this lady firmly believes that it is of vital importance to get your children vaccinated.
Well, I'm not going to criticise and say she's entirely wrong. I'm just like the previous person who sent you the message on WhatsApp. I don't think there's enough research. And if I think our government don't care either way. But my question is, where is the hysteria on the BCG? What if there's a breakout of tuberculosis? I think there actually has been in one creche, wasn't there, a creche closed down, and yet no BCG vaccination available. And yet we're going hysterical over the MMR.
Okay, I can't explain.
I know you can't answer it. I'm asking the question. I just don't understand that. Why is there no equal hysteria if it's that important?
All right, stay there for 1 second. 6797 981 is our telephone number. You can text or WhatsApp the programme 0877 98 98 98. Stephen sent this message to us. He said, my kids' creche already won't allow unvaccinated children to be in the creche. The sooner the better. It's a law, as herd immunity is of paramount importance, says that message. Because later on, I'll read that message down in a second. Sorry. Adrian is what's that word? Shill. What's a shill? There was a man on before the break making sense and calling Adrian out about vaccines, and funny enough, after the break, he's gone, says that message. A conspiracy theorist. He's actually not gone. He's still on the line. Graham is still there. You just want to confirm, Graham, you are still there.
I'm still here listening, yeah.
Lest I be accused of deliberately cutting you off. So that conspiracy theorist can put back on their tinfoil hat. Rachel, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Rachel?
Hey, Adrian.
Now, Rachel.
I just want to put a point across. I have 6 children, and on the last baby that I had, I didn't really want to get the needles. But I got talking to a girl, and she told me that you can actually get the needles broken down. So when I approached the nurse about it, she was like, "Oh, no, you can't do that." And I was like, "Oh, yes, you can." And she goes, in the end, she ended up breaking them down for me. So people are not aware out there that you can actually do that. But you only get...
So you're in two minds over this, are you?
No, I have got them, but I've got them broken down.
As opposed to all at the same time?
All at the same time. Yeah. Like,
and what do you think of this law in Italy? And 73% of people here thinking we should have the same law that bans children from creches and nursery schools if they haven't been vaccinated. And according to one of our listeners, it already happens in one particular creche.
No, I don't think so. It's up to the parents whether they want to get the needles or not. I don't think they should be bullied into it by anybody else but themselves.
All right, stay there for 1 second. 6797 981 is our telephone number. You can text or WhatsApp the programme on 0877 98 98 98. The Minister for Health, Simon Harris, just before Christmas, gave a fairly fulsome statement about the vaccines and the need to vaccinate. He said things like, I want to just quote some of the things that he said. He said, the efficacy of vaccination is well documented. The virtual eradication of smallpox and the elimination of polio, increased protection for women and girls against cervical cancer, protection of the vulnerable against influenza are all due to vaccination. There have been attempts to spread fear and scaremonger. This came to light here when there was an attempt to link the HPV vaccine with serious side effects. This continues to be a problem. And it's interesting that, when I hear people like you, Graham, so his buttons are being pressed by big pharma companies, are they?
I believe so, yeah. Well, it's totally evidence, really, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Look at the state of the health service. And, I don't think he's about looking after the people. I really don't. Look at the waiting list for procedures, especially that scoliosis procedure. That's pretty basic, straightforward stuff. All they need to do is bring in surgeons on the weekends, Adrian, to get that list down, and they won't. For whatever reason, they won't. So I don't believe they have the best interests of the people at heart with all of our ministers.
So how do you explain, and these are facts, okay, the virtual eradication of smallpox, the complete elimination of polio, and increased protection for women and girls against cervical cancer? Now, polio, for example, is a disease that was extraordinarily destructive and extremely debilitating. I actually know personally of somebody who had polio as a child and is still scarred to this day, and she's an older woman now. How do you explain the fact that there are advantages to these things?
Well, I understand, but they need to do more research. I believe it's all got to do with the children's genetic makeup and how they're going to react to them vaccines. I believe that the vaccines can work on some and not work on others, but they need to find out who it's not going to work on before they give it to the children. They need to find out what's causing autism. And if you look at the studies, Adrian, of when they start bringing vaccines in and then the rate of autism, they're pretty much parallel with each other when you look at it through history. And it's just getting the bigger the population, the more vaccines, and then you have more autism. And you've ADHD and stuff. I believe that it is got to do with them, but not every child is going to contract it because of their genetic makeup. And I believe that girl who has the 2 kids, I could be wrong, but I believe that she probably has them 2 kids for different fathers. Now, I could be wrong on that, but that's just my hunch. And that's where, it could be just little
okay,
things.
That's total speculation, by the way.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Okay, let me read out this message, and it says, excuse me, I don't have an issue with vaccines in general. The issue is that babies get too many vaccines in one jab. The reason that children died from measles, mumps and so on years ago was because of their poor living conditions and lack of nutrition. If people are so sure that vaccination works, why do they fear unvaccinated children? I don't know if it's necessarily a fear of unvaccinated children. What they're talking about in Italy is putting pressure on parents to have their children vaccinated. And if by your children not being allowed to go to creches and nursery schools, the idea of it is to put that pressure on parents. Adrian, there's a big difference between a live vaccine and a dead vaccine, says this message. I will not give a live vaccine, but will get a dead vaccine. There is also some evidence that some may get an allergic reaction to specific chemicals used in vaccines. If that occurs, doctors won't advocate getting vaccinated with vaccines that have such chemicals. Not quite sure what that actually means. At some point, I agree with Graham, says this message, our health system is absolutely ridiculous. And one last call from Elaine. Elaine, you have a 3-week-old.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your recent birth. What did you want to say on this?
Basically, my son was given the BCG before we left the hospital. He's actually 5 weeks.
Well, 5 weeks, yeah.
And he was given the BCG before he left the hospital, so I don't know where she's getting I don't know where they don't have the BCG available.
Okay, and you are going to go through all the vaccines?
Yeah, basically we've three older kids, we've 3 girls, and we've got them all vaccinated. Now my oldest one, she's been basically diagnosed with autism, and basically then the other 2 are fine, like there's no issues with them.
Do you believe that there's a connection between vaccine and your daughter being diagnosed with autism?
No.
It's just one of those things?
Yeah.
Because the other 2 are fine?
Yeah, it's no issues with them at all.
73%, Elaine, in a poll earlier on today, said that children should be banned from creches and nursery schools if they haven't been vaccinated. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
As a way of what? As a way of pressurising parents to do it?
No, basically it's just more to protect the children than else, like.
All right, and let me just read one last message on this. It should be a law because ultimately they are putting not only their child's life in danger, but also every other person who will be in contact with that child if they get one of these illnesses. These are very dangerous illnesses and have a very high infectivity rate, which is why we have vaccines against them. You're pulling these ideas out of your backside and then expect us to choose them over the undeniable evidence we have. If all these illnesses being eradicated or near enough to being eradicated, my half-brother has 4 kids, all vaccinated, and 3 of them are on the spectrum, the eldest being the furthest on it, the others being progressively lower. Autism is in the genetics, not given via a vaccine, says that message. And one last message. Absolutely no evidence at all to state vaccinations cause autism. It's an insult to kids born with autism because you are born with autism. And where... Oh, sorry, there's a conspiracy theorist on the phone claiming that we're being paid by some big pharma company. I don't know where that money is gone, but it's certainly not in my pocket. Anyway, all right, thanks very much indeed. It does continue, and it has to be stated that it is official government policy that children should be vaccinated, and we don't want to be in any way accused of spreading misinformation on the other side either. So, yeah, let it be known that it is official government policy to have your child vaccinated, but there is no legal obligation. They can't force you, which is why in Italy they brought in that law, which will basically stop kids going to creches and to nursery schools if they haven't been vaccinated. You're with 98 FM's Dublin Talks. This is Adrian Kennedy. We're with you until midday today. Now, in my hand here, I have a pair of tickets for IMC cinemas to give away. You may have read this story yesterday in the news, and I wanted to touch on it yesterday, but we didn't have enough time. And it was a kind of a bullshit story, to be honest, but it was all about the fact that a time machine has been invented. And it got me thinking, if there was a time in the past that you could go back to, where would it be and why? So, for example, I would love, because I've been there, I've been to Pompeii in Italy. I don't know if you're ever there yourself. And this was a town in southern Italy which was destroyed by a volcano back 2,000 years ago. But I've been there, and they've kind of dug the whole town out of the ashes of the volcano, and you can see it's literally preserved. You can see what the town looked like. But if I could go back in time, I'd love to see what Pompeii was like back 2,000 years ago. I mean, there was brothels, there was all sorts of carry-on going on there. But I'd love to see what it was actually like. So if I could go back in time to a certain point, that's what I'd like to do. And if I could do the same for you, where would you like to go back to, and why? Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. And I have a pair of IMC cinema passes for the best caller. We're back in a sec.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors, the wood floor experts who supply and fit your new wood floor from start to finish, hassle-free. DesKelly.ie. 98 FM.
So if I had a time machine like in Back to the Future, and I had it here right now, and I could bring you back to some time in the past in history, where would it be that I would take you to? Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. You can send us a WhatsApp voice message to 0877 98 98 98, like this one.
Adrian, I'm a proud Irish man. I'd love to go back to 1916 and be with all the signatories of the proclamation and fight against the Brits.
Okay, fair enough. You'd like to be back in O'Connell Street back in 1916. Where would you like to go if you could go somewhere in the past and be dropped at some particular place? I, as I said, would love to be in Pompeii before the volcano, because I just love to see what the place looked like. I've been there as a fascinating place. I have a mental image of what it was like then, but I'd love to actually be able to see it. Gary's in UCD. How are you, Gary?
I'm good, Adrian. How are you? Not too bad.
Gary, where would you like to go back to?
I'd love to go back to Egypt and see who built the pyramids.
It's a fascinating thing.
Actually are.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I think humanity wonders how the pyramids were built.
Yeah, well, look, the Roman Empire could only lift 6 ton.
Yeah, so
3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, they were lifting over 100-ton blocks.
Yeah.
You know, how did they quarry them? It's fascinating.
It is fascinating,
We don't have the answers for them. That's the thing.
That'd be a good place to go back to see how, in God's name. Now, I imagined, this is my mental image, I imagined they were like ants. You know the way ants can lift like loads, you know, and they go around in a big, huge clump of ants lifting big, heavy weights. I imagine maybe that's how they did it, no?
I think there was possibly giants. Like Andre the Giant, for an example. If you had 100 of him, it'd be the equivalent of 1,000 of us, you know?
So there was giants.
It's a bigger species of human, possibly. I don't know.
It is bizarre. It is fascinating to wonder how they actually built them.
And how they got a true north as well, so precise as well. That's fascinating too.
Yeah, it is. Okay, you know, I'm with you on that one. Good man, Gary. Thanks very much indeed. Where would you like to go in history? Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. Hang on, I did play that one already. I think I did. Thank you very much indeed. Now, Sean, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Sean?
How are you, Adrian? Not too bad. How are you?
I'm good, Sean. Where would you like to go back to?
The late 60s to see Jim Morrison in the Doors.
Live in concert?
Absolutely. The Hollywood Bowl, 68.
I have to say, I'd love to just go back to the 60s.
Well, I wanted to say that, but it was a bit too vague, man.
It is a little bit vague, all right. Yeah, no, okay. Yeah,
I have to get me airtime, you know.
Okay, so the one specific place you'd like to go is to see Jim Morrison and the Doors playing live. Yeah, I'd love to see what it was actually like in the 60s.
Yeah, just to witness it all, man. Yeah, like just everything.
It looked like just the coolest time ever.
Everyone was happy, just free, no worries, nothing.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah, okay, maybe we can go back to the 60s sometime. Thanks, Sean. Graham, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Graham?
Good morning, how are you?
Okay, so now this is interesting. Where would you like to go back to?
Basically the start of time. So you've seen in history books when there'd be two people sitting there looking, the cartoon show, two people sitting there looking at a bonfire, basically. The start of fire. Basically, literally the start of life just to sit there and look at, watch how people basically evolved, see how they build houses, everything, just to see like basically how they put stuff together. It'd be amazing to see.
Yeah.
Also, the 60s will be a great time as well.
Yeah, no, I'd love to experience the 60s, I have to say. But yeah, no, going back that far to, and like we were talking about the pyramids, how in God's name do they build those things?
This is the amazing.
Yeah.
This will be great to see, like when someone actually put that brick there and was like, hold on, they put another one there, and it just all added up, and they're like, you know, they just like common sense between people was just like, wait, this is actually how this actually goes. It'd be amazing to see it will be.
It would, wouldn't it? Yeah.
No.
I mean, and it's something that we'll never really have the proper answers to.
No, never. It's life's biggest mystery.
It is. It absolutely is. All right, Graham, thanks very much indeed. 6797-981 is our telephone number. If I could wave a magic wand and bring you back to some time in the past, where would it be and why? Thomas, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Thomas?
How are you doing, Adrian?
Now, yours is a little bit gruesome.
What?
Where would you like to go back to?
Well, as I texted, there would be a few places I'd like to go back. One of them would be, if it's very, very, going back so many years ago, would be probably Jurassic Park and to see the dinosaurs.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And also, I'd like to see the gladiators.
You'd like to see the gladiators. Now, from all our understanding of gladiators and the gladiator fights and all that, they were literally fights to the death. I mean, I thought MMA was bad.
Oh, well, I'm not a violent person myself, but it's just after I've seen the movie Gladiator, it was a very emotional movie, and
and very gruesome.
Yeah, well, he was. But I think a lot of people would agree. A lot of people would like to see the gladiator fights, or even they had the games in the Coliseum. It was. So that's where I would like to go.
All right, very good. Here's another suggestion. I would like somebody to bring me back to just last year and let me find who made the Baby Shark song and put an end to it straight away. Yes, I think a lot of people would agree with that one. Where are we going now? We're going to Toby. You're on 98 FM. How are you, Toby?
All right.
Toby, you have a specific thing you'd like to go back in time to sort out.
Yeah, well, we were talking about the 60s. I was in the 60s and the 50s, maybe a little further back.
And come here, was the 60s just a great decade?
Not at all.
No.
When would you see two cars parked outside of a corporation house in the 60s and the 40s and 50s?
That's true. So it wasn't all it was cracked up to be?
Not at all, no.
Right,
and
okay.
what I'd like to do is go back and get rid of all them dictators like Hitler, Mussolini, Stalin, any of those dictators. Get rid of them, and there wouldn't have been as much atrocities in the world.
Well, that's true. In fact, somebody just texted in to say, I'd like to go back to about 9 months before Hitler was born and tell his father not to go to bed early with Hitler's mother that night.
Yeah. And before I finish, one more thing I'd like to say.
Yeah, go on.
I'd like to go back to Thursday after knowing the results of the Euro Lotto and have that. And then
you'd be robbing the money from those lovely people up in the Knoll and Kentstown or whatever.
That wouldn't bother me.
That wouldn't bother you. Good man, Toby. Thanks very much indeed for your call. Hang on, let me read out one or two more of your messages. I'd like to see the construction of Rome and Alexandria. Amazing periods in time. And sorry, lads, which one did you want me to play? Okay, and let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice message.
I would like to go back to the tomb of Christ at the time he was killed, just to see the atmosphere surrounding him at the time and what it was all about.
I'd say it was fairly grim, to be honest with you. Anyway, some brilliant suggestions coming in of where you would like to go. Oh, yeah, I'd like to go back to a time before the Harry Potter or Game of Thrones series were written and write them myself. All right, very good. Thanks very much indeed for all of your calls. That's it from us for today. If you're going to the Dogs this evening, we will see you in Shelbourne Park this evening at 7 o'clock. All set for a great night. Really looking forward to our night in Shelbourne tonight. And if you're not going to be there, we will talk to you again tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Andy Clark is on the way, and in the next hour, he's got some great music lined up like these.
Maybe it's not forever.
98 FM's
Dublin Talks
with Des Kelly Interiors, the wood floor experts who supply and fit your new wood floor from start to finish, hassle-free. DesKelly.ie 98 FM.